This week on HomeKit News, the Aqara Video Doorbell G4 with HomeKit. So today we're looking at a somewhat highly anticipated product from Aqara, namely the Video Doorbell G4. As expected, it works with HomeKit and uses HomeKit Secure Video, and it also works with Amazon and Google as well as IFTTT. What sets the G4 apart from other doorbells, you might ask? Well, partly it's due to Aqara's robust automation options, but here are some features to whet your appetite nonetheless, so pause the video if required. A few things to note are that this is the first battery-powered video doorbell with official HomeKit support, although wired power is also an option. It can't make use of existing chimes, however. It's IPX3 rated for outdoor use, and it works with the provided Chime as well as other smart speakers to play chime sounds and play announcements, which I'll demonstrate later. Let's now see what's in the box. So the first thing is a 20-degree angled wedge, although you should note this is not available on the Chinese model. There's a small but standard screwdriver to access the battery compartment. There are two sets of screws to mount the doorbell to the wedge and the wedge to the wall, although it also comes with adhesive backing. There's a USB-C cable to provide power to the Chime, the Chime itself, which is required as it relays the doorbell to your Wi-Fi network, and finally a manual in multiple languages. Let's now have a closer look at the doorbell and Chime, so pause the video as there's lots to take in. The lens offers a 162-degree field of view with recordings at 1080p. There's an ambient light sensor to detect when to switch over to night vision with the help of the built-in IR LEDs. Above that is a small microphone to pick up audio, and there's a PIR motion sensor to detect movement, and the large circular doorbell features a colour LED ring to indicate activity amongst other things. On one side of the G4 there's a small speaker for two-way communication in conjunction with the aforementioned mic. It's not massively loud or particularly clear, but it does the job. The other side features a covered recess that houses a screw that secures the doorbell to the back of the device for access to the battery compartment. And finally the rear of the G4, where you can see the adhesive backing if you're unable to use the provided screws to affix the G4 to a wall. You can also feed any existing doorbell wires through the removable square plate if preferred. The G4 can take 6 AA batteries with an estimated 4-month lifespan, but only on low power mode. Let's now look at the internals. So the security screw is held in place so you can't lose it, and with the back plate taken off you can see that the battery compartment takes up most of the space. In the Aqara app you have just 3 modes: normal mode, which uses batteries and gives you all the detection options; power saving mode, which only wakes if motion is detected or if the doorbell is pressed; and external power supply mode, which gives you everything in normal mode but is always alert due to a constant power supply. To supply constant power there are 2 wire connectors for the 2 doorbell wires, and it's capable of working with AC or DC power via a power transformer or your existing doorbell wires. Above that there's a reset button should you need it, and next to that is a small but clever anti-theft feature. When the doorbell is attached to the back plate, this small button is pressed in like so, and if the doorbell is removed this button is released, which in turn triggers an alarm, which I'll demonstrate next. I'll now enable the anti-theft alarm option, then release the button, and the alarm should sound immediately. In addition to the alarm on the doorbell, the Chime will also play an alarm and you'll get a push notification sent to your phone. There's also a record of when the doorbell has been removed in the timeline within the Aqara app. Onto the Chime, which in addition to playing sounds when the doorbell is pressed, also acts as a Wi-Fi repeater for the doorbell to connect to your Wi-Fi network. The speaker is actually louder than you probably need, and I've found that 25% is more than enough. You can also add your own custom ringtones if you prefer. The Chime itself offers 3 standard ringtones which are all basically the same apart from the pitch that they're played at. The underside of the Chime features an SD card slot, only for the international model I might add, with SD cards up to 512GB permitted. Next to that is the USB-C port for power, and finally the HomeKit QR code, as it's the Chime that connects to HomeKit directly, not the doorbell. On the top you'll find a simple button which can be used to mute the ringtone amongst other reset features, and on the back, like the doorbell, the Chime has an adhesive backing. Personally, I think I'd have preferred a screw hole or separate plate, but you can have this just sat on a shelf if you prefer. With the batteries now inserted, you can see the LED ring flashing in preparation for setup. So once the Chime is plugged in, I can begin adding this to the Aqara app and HomeKit once I hear the voice prompt.
Ready to connect. Please open the Aqara Home app.
Adding it initially to the Aqara app still adds it to HomeKit first if you're using HomeKit, and goes through the usual steps of selecting the location and naming the device.
The account is bound successfully. Welcome aboard.
The last step is simply binding the doorbell to the Aqara servers, so it's all pretty standard. For a setup procedure, it was probably the easiest one I've done in a while, so I think you'll find it a breeze too. The G4 is now in HomeKit in the Aqara app, so all I need to do is dispense with my old doorbell to get this one in place. Bye bye Eufy. With the doorbell setup, there are a ton of ways to get notified, so as we've already seen, the Chime is the first and obvious option, although if you don't want to play a ringtone, you have various other options.
There's someone at the front door.
Someone is at the Aqara G4. There's a creepy-looking person at the front door.
Someone's at Aqara G4. Someone's at Aqara G4.
Nest displays can also stream the live feed from the video doorbell via a voice request like so.
Alright, streaming Aqara G4.
In truth, this is a little slow at 8 to 10 seconds, but it's still a useful option in some circumstances. You can also manually select the G4 from the display within the Home Control section. This is also a little slow, but it also allows you to select the doorbell without using your voice. The power of HomeKit when it comes to cameras is probably of most use via an Apple TV, with visual notifications when the doorbell is pressed, if motion is detected, or for just viewing the live stream whenever you want. Finally, for those with a Mac computer synced to their HomeKit Home, you also get full control of not only the doorbell, but also all your HomeKit devices. This includes the video timeline below as seen here, as long as you have the relevant iCloud storage option. This is of use to me as I tend to spend a lot of time in front of my computer, which is also far from the front door. The Aqara app offers a two-way audio feature that may be of use to some, which offers 3 ways to disguise your voice to visitors, although to me it's a little bit of a gimmick.
Hello, this is Simon from HomeKit News.
Hello, this is Simon from HomeKit News. Hello, this is Simon from HomeKit News.
Yeah, not great. Speaking of audio, onto a quick mic test now, so I'll be quiet.
Hi, this is Simon from HomeKit News. Hi, this is Simon from HomeKit News.
In Apple Home, it's mostly standard for video doorbells with the live feed along with the timeline if you're using HomeKit Secure Video, along with access to devices on the fly. The motion sensor is listed as an accessory as it's a proper PIR sensor. You can turn off things like night vision if you wish, and for notifications you can choose specific motion options as well as the camera is offline, for example. In this section you can also choose which HomePods you want to use as chimes, so in my case I've got 3 of the 4 minis set to play a chime sound. Facial recognition works in both the Aqara and the Home apps, although they use separate systems. I've found HomeKit to be better at recognising faces in general, but as Aqara can use faces in automations, it does have its uses. Here are a few quick comparisons between the Aqara app and the Home app on how fast the live feed shows up when connected to your home network. There's not a lot between them, but generally the Home app loads up slightly quicker, although not all the time. This could vary when it comes to your phone being connected to mobile internet, but as I'm not using 5G, only 4G, I didn't find there to be too much difference between them, and both loaded up reasonably fast in my opinion. It is, however, a slightly different story when it comes to image quality. In this double clip, HomeKit Secure Video tends to be pixelated at first, only eventually becoming clearer, whilst the Aqara app is generally clearer from the beginning. Still, HomeKit Secure Video records longer clips, whilst the Aqara app records in 6-second segments. A quick overview of the features in the Aqara app now, and if I select the G4 I can see the live feed, but strangely there's no timeline in this view. One thing I noticed is that the image quality always reverts to smooth, which I guess varies depending on signal strength, so even after selecting 1080p, if I load up the stream again, it goes to smooth again. This could be a bug, although it may just be for battery conservation. On the home page you can view the live stream as a floating window like is possible in Apple Home, although in the Aqara app you have 4 position options, not 3. You also get a vertical timeline of events with small thumbnail snapshots which can also be used to play the selected clips. Like the Aqara G2H camera, there's an option for lens correction. Here's an image with the correction feature turned off, then turned on. I prefer it turned on as it makes me look thinner. Like the G2H Pro, you have an option to black out parts of the field of view to protect the privacy of neighbours, which is a subject that came up in a legal case in the UK not so long ago. This option offers up to 3 separate areas on a 16:9 grid. You can also activate night vision, and here's a quick visual to show you what night vision is like. It's just okay in my opinion, but it's not going to be in use where I live as the lights are always on. Back to facial recognition briefly, and you have options for recording when a face is detected, as well as receive push notifications and detection frequency. General motion detection is also catered for in a separate menu if someone is wearing a mask or has their face otherwise obscured. There are a few other nice features in the app, but I'll let you explore those yourself whilst I finish up with the pros and cons. The first pro has to be the price, which really undercuts the competition by a lot, whilst also offering a lot more functionality via the Aqara app. Being HomeKit compatible and allowing it to be battery operated is a boost for those who don't have existing doorbell wires, so that's another plus. Because the doorbell is so well integrated into the Aqara app, if you have other products by the company, the automation options take this to another level. The tamper alert feature, whilst not 100% secure, is something you don't really see on many other doorbells, and I can't understand why, as these are valuable items. If you don't want to rely on HomeKit Secure Video, then the SD card and cloud recordings are a very efficient and safe way to capture events, even if they're a tad short. The only minor gripe is that I'd have been happy to see a slightly higher price in exchange for a rechargeable and swappable battery pack, which would have been an excellent option. I'll be powering mine via a transformer in this instance, however, so I'm not so bothered. So that's our overview of the Aqara Video Doorbell G4, but you can also read our in-depth written review via a link in the description. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them below and I'll always reply. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so already. In the meantime, stay safe and remember, you can lead a horse to water, but a pencil must be lead.